Hello, ladies and germs. I made a commitment in the new year that I was going to try to make some kind of a video every week, even if it sucked. Okay, so here we are at the end of the week, and I have not done anything, and now it is below zero, and it is raining. It is very, very cold. But that is my commitment. Can't see me. To you. My commitment to you. So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do this. I have so much stuff that I want to talk about, but I don't know. It's like not really related to board games or. So today I'm going to tell you about my story with Antifa, because that is related. It's related to pretty much everything I've made so far. It's related to Antifa. I kind of hung with. Can't see my hand. I kind of hung with Antifa in the 90s when I went to school. I finished university at Portland State, which is very far left, even then. Not quite the same as now, but yeah, kind of like it was the Portland State especially was like patient zero for like what the new left kind of turned into with like all the trans stuff and the identity politics. So like all the characters in POZ or in were people I knew at Portland State, including Magic Pink. Except Magic Pink in real life, she had a mustache. She had a mustache. She was just like this blob. She motored around on a mobility scooter that she did not need. It's just, to elicit sympathy. It's just, I'm fat, so I need a scooter because, it hurts my knees to climb stairs because I'm fat, and please hold the door open for me and have pity on me. Just the worst people. Anyway. So 1999. It's 1999, and two things are happening. First one, then the other. The first thing is going to be the war in Serbia, the war against Serbia, and the next thing is going to be the what we used to call N30. Like we called it N30, like it was going to live, forever. Like people would know N30. Wow, what a legend! But most people have forgotten. It was the WTO protests in Seattle in 1999, which was on November 30th. So war is mostly in the summer, and then the WTO protests are in the late fall. So I'm kind of, at this time, right, there really isn't a populist right. If there was, I would have been interested in it. But there was kind of a populist left, because this was Clinton's second term. He had betrayed the left, as politicians are wont to do, by going back on all of his promises and waging this unjust war for no reason. The left is always against war. So there was kind of like this split developing between like the radical left, the Mother Jones and the Z magazines and the Noam Chomsky left, and like the Democratic Party, which hadn't really existed for 30 years. So I was interested in that. I was hanging out with those guys. And, oh dear, my goodness. So, the war starts, right? And all over campus go up these flyers, right? Coalition to stop the war in Yugoslavia, they say. Coalition to stop the war. Like, whoa, that's what I'm all about. I'm definitely going to join the coalition to end the war in Yugoslavia. So they give a date and a time and a room number on campus, the student center. Student center above the, you know what, I'm thinking Utah State, I don't remember. It was in the student center building, like the main building. And so I go there, and I show up, and like there's like two or three students, including me. And then there's all these people, right? Just like these people, and all of them are in charge, right? All of them are over 30. Like there's that really heavy set woman with long gray hair, who wore skirts, and like there's the Semitic looking dude kind of fat with a Jiffy Pop rag hat. And then there is Jordana. That is her real name, Jordana. I do not care. You can look her up, I suppose. Who is with the Freedom Socialist Party. The Freedom Socialist Party, in case you do not know, and why should you, is the LGBT Socialist Party. And they come to every single event. And they hawk their newspaper, Socialist Worker, which is terrible. And like, the one they brought was always like, weeks out of date. Very sketchy kind of an organization. And I am about to find out. I was soon to find out that there's like 8 of them, right? They're not teachers, they're not students, they don't work there, they're just kind of there, and they're able to schedule rooms on campus, right? And we're gonna, I was soon to find out that these people are there as gatekeepers, right? They're to make sure that nothing happens. And I will give examples. We meet I was like 2 or 3 times, maybe it was every day, but like several times a week at least, in the same room. And we would, basically they kind of gave us orders of what to do. Like they planned a venue in Pioneer Courthouse Square. We're gonna make flyers, we're gonna handle the flyers. Okay. And like, cool, all right, I can do that. So they made the flyers, and I went to Pioneer Courthouse Square in Portland to hand these out, hand out the flyers, stop the bombing, stop the war. And people were like really happy to see us. Like, we were waiting for you guys, all these lefties cheering us on, yeah, stop the bombing, stop the war. So I did that, and I'll get to like the first rally in a minute. But then I kind of went on my own initiative and reached out to other groups. Like, we want this to be like the biggest rally as possible. We're going to cross the boundaries of like left and right and whatever. So I met with the Green Party. The Green Party were excited to be invited. So they sent a delegate over, and I met with the Libertarian Party, who were also anti-war, and they had their own separate right-wing protest that nobody came to. It was like 3 people. So I invited the head of the Libertarian Party too, and I reported back. It's like, I got these speakers to attend the rally, and boy, they did not like that, especially Jordana. I'm going to tell you more about Jordana, and she didn't really have any, couldn't express like why she was upset, but like she said something like, oh, they're right wingers and we don't believe in rah, rah, rah. But she was very, as soon as I announced that, she's like, the meeting kind of stops, and she's talking with Jiffy Top Rag Hat in the corner of the room, and she's being something very loud and very heated, and she's very upset. Okay, so I get like a tongue lashing, right, from these people, like, don't go over our heads, like, and I said, like, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bring people to rally. I'm just like doing people. Okay. They didn't have anything to say about that. Okay, so he came, this tall, skinny guy from the Green Party and some other dude from the Libertarian Party, and they spoke at our rally. Okay, so first rally, right, is at Pioneer Courthouse Square, and we get a pretty good crowd. Like, I beat pavement, I knocked doors, right, I handed flyers to people coming out of the Max, and like, stop the bombing, stop the war. And so the first time, the first rally, my recollection is that we drew in about 1,000 people. Okay, I could be misremembering that, but we filled that square, and had like people like of all different kinds of Americans, right? With like all different politics, which is what you want. And a lot of them brought American flags. Like, some people had like a mask of the president. I remember one guy had like a rubber mask of President Clinton. He brought his girlfriend. She had a mask of like Hillary Clinton, and he held a sign that says, "I'm president. I can do whatever I want." And so before the rally begins, Jordana, bowl cut lesbian woman, gets up and chides the audience. Gets up and starts yelling at the audience for bringing nationalist flags, right? Because some Yugoslavs had shown up also, and some Greeks. I mean, like Serbs. This is no Yugoslavs at that time, but Serbs and some other Slavic types. There was like a priest. I remember there was this Serbian Orthodox. This is the first time I've ever met an Orthodox person in my life. Like this Serbian Orthodox priest with the apple core hat, and his name was Dragon. Like, holy crap, there's a dude named Dragon. I wish I'd been born in Serbia and my name could be Dragon, Drago, or whatever it is. So all these guys showed up with like their nationalist flags, like the Serbian flags, and she yells at them for like bringing these national flags, and the Americans had brought American flags, right? And people start to filter out, right? But people start to walk away, like they don't like being yelled at. And then the other speakers get up, and then at the end, Jordana again gets up and speaks again, and it's like, we demand that NATO install a provisional government in Serbia that represents gays, lesbians, transsexuals. This is in 1999. Gays, lesbians, transsexuals, blah, blah, blah. And she lists off all the LGBTIAQQ plus whatever. And people are like, who is this person? Right? And they start to wander off, right? That right there more or less killed the movement. But that was her job. That was her job, to kill the movement. So subsequent rallies, probably you don't remember this, but one of the civilian protests in Serbia was to like make a paper, like a paper photocopy of a target. It says target on it, and they pin it to their hats or pin it to their heads, like street theater, like NATO's trying to kill me, right? So I got with this other guy named Dan. Dan, I do not think was a member of one of these people, because Dan was very enthusiastic about, doing this protest. So on my own dime, right, spending my own money, I made about 50 shirts with the Target thing. I did the graphic design myself, reduplicated their thing, and I made these Target shirts. And I had them all printed up, and I brought them to the rally and sold them for cost, right? And once again, the coalition to end the war in Yugoslavia, those 8 people were very upset that I had done this. And this time their objection was, is it free trade, the shirts? Oh, absolutely, yes. I met with an activist guy, and these are all free trade shirts. I said, are they union made? Are they union made, the shirts? Yes, I did my due diligence, and I found shirts that were union made. Cost a little bit extra, but they're grinding their teeth. And once again, they didn't, there's nothing they could say. They were clearly very unhappy that I had done this, make the protest better. But they had to let me go forward with it. And then in subsequent things, they met with like the Women's League. It was like a radical feminist group. I remember we went to the Women's League. And what I remember most about that is like the Women's League had some like really messed up women in it. Like people who had been like, I don't know, through some kind of violence or whatever, but there's one Asian woman who got up and just started screaming and crying. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. And Jordana gets up and she yells at her, right, for disrupting. She's being an absolute, incidentally, right, all the other 7 members of the coalition and the war in Yugoslavia were supporting what Jordana was doing, right? Nobody got up and told her, hey, you're kind of making people mad. You're kind of killing the movement here. They're very supportive. This is what needed to be done. It needed to be done correctly. So they're all gatekeepers. Right. And I suppose you can guess that, well, they're not students, and they're not teachers, and they're not administration. They're feds, right? They're feds. That's their job. Their job was to get in there and crush it. And they were absolutely successful at crushing it. They went to Ron Wyden, who was a senator back then as well. We went to his office, and Jordana did a little song and dance about demanding that these are our demands, that NATO install a provisional government with representatives from who are gay, who are lesbian, who are transsexual, who are, two-spirit or whatever, all this stuff. Anyway, later on, so absolutely killed it, completely dead. By the time I left, it was like me and literally one other guy. They had walked the entire coalition and the war in Yugoslavia, and the war was still ongoing. Okay. So later that fall at N30, at the WTO protests, I drove up with a group called "quote unquote" Students for Unity, which is like a kind of sort of with another guy who would kind of like. This is what you need to be aware of. Another guy who had chosen to befriend me, right? He's 30 years old, wasn't a student, very charismatic, very friendly, overly friendly. He like really wanted to be my friend and really wanted to start a movement with me. Because apparently I was the only one active at this particular point in time. And we, I eventually had a falling out with him because he really, really, really wanted everyone, which was me. I'm like the only person in this group. He really, really wanted me to read Saul Alinsky, like Rules for Radicals. He brought it up every time we met him. So what else did we do? Right, so with this other guy, who I guess was my handler or something, we went to the radical student newspaper in Portland at the time was called the Rear Guard. Okay, the Vanguard, the Viking Vanguard. The Vanguard is the student newspaper. The Rear Guard is the radical left newspaper. Okay, and it was like, we're gonna put some articles into the Rear Guard about ending the war. Okay, and I got some stuff from. He's still on Twitter, Mark Ames. I got some, he did this brilliant piece called The Balkan War Medals. Brilliant piece of satirical writing. It's gone now. The site is gone. The reproductions are gone. But I got it all, and I did not get permission. I did not know this was something you had to do back then. But I was like, we're going to run this. We're going to run this in the Rear Guard. I was like, and again, they pretend to be supportive. Like, the head of the Rear Guard was like this 19-year-old black woman who had been raised. Her name was Walida, and she had been raised by like white parents, and her name is April Ann, but she wanted to go by Walida, and like I kind of pressed her, like, why do you want to be called Walida? Is queen in Arabic. Like, you're not Arabic, you're not Muslim, why do you want to? So I kind of pressed her, like, what is your real name? She told me her name was April Ann, so every time I met her I call her April Ann. It really annoyed her. Anyway, so we approached her about like putting this stuff into the Rear Guard newspaper, and again, here's my figure. Again, gate kept. Okay, reason being, it's full. What's it full of? Mumia Abdul-Jabbar. Mumia. Everything, wall to wall, every single article was about Mumia. I think he's dead now. Maybe not. Mumia was like this a Panther or a black nationalist, some guy who was shot a Fed, and he was in federal prison for shooting a Fed, and he was like he was the cause that everybody wanted to steer you toward, right? Probably, I'm guessing, because the cause was hopeless. So shut down. No, nothing about the war. We're all booked up. We have to write about Mamiya. It's the most important thing. Okay. And so I don't have a whole lot to say about N30 except to say that I went up with this other guy who I guess was my handler. I also did the Students for Unity. I mean, there were literally 3 of us. I did the website, and there was nothing on the website. So after I got really annoyed about this, having been shut down by April Ann over this Mamiya stuff. So I downloaded a picture of Mamiya and I got it into Photoshop, and I photoshopped George Bush's hair onto Mamiya because it was it was an election year, right? 1999, right? Or no? Or I guess it was just starting up. So I photoshopped W's hair onto Mamiya Abdul-Jabbar, and I put that on the Students for Unity website. And my handler guy, he kind of broke with me then. He told the other people I had mental issues. It's like, I thought it was hilarious. The guy looked like an Indian. Black guy with white people hair. Anyway, but before that, I went with this guy, Mark, to the N30, the WTO protests. Right? It was really difficult for me. They cleverly scheduled it during finals week, so I barely got on that bus before it left, and we went down there, and we were being journalists. We were being journalists, and reporting on the truth of the war, and coercing the media who lied about everything that happened there. It said the protesters were violent, but that was my first brush with actual Antifa. Actual Antifa who had bussed up from Eugene, right? They had the balaclavas, they had the masks, they all wore boots and khaki pants, and they really stood out because this was 1999, right? And really for real hippies still existed back then, real hippies, disciplined, who were good at protesting, and it was going to be a peaceful protest. So these guys would filter into the crowd, they stuck out like sore thumbs. They're all in black. They had these red backs, and they're clearly trying to start stuff, right? They would start throwing stuff at the cops, and some hippie dude would drag him back down, quit it. This is a peaceful protest, and they were unable to at that time. Later on, of course, they were very successful at inciting violence, but on this day, they failed to incite any violence. And you'd see, some of the guys that we stuffed, their attempt to make this protest violent was denied. And you'd see them, and they'd walk over, all dejected, right? Whoops! Dang it! I didn't incite the violence. And you'd see them talking to the police. They'd pull their mask down, right? And they're chatting with the cops. And when they're done, you swat them on the shoulder. Hey, bud, go out and do these dudes are working with the cops, right? It was another time, man. It was another time. And beginning with that, there was this, the first real, my hands are getting really cold. I have to wrap this up. What was I saying? The first real online radical journalism. It was this network of sites called Indie Media, right? They're Indie Media. There were sites. There were cells all over the globe, and what they mostly did was that they filmed feds, right? That's what they did. They filmed feds because every single event you went to, every single one, there was a fed. Sometimes there were infiltrators. Sometimes not. There was always a guy filming, right? And you could tell that he did not belong there because he was a little bit old to be in the radical group. And he's standing off to one side, and it's this is before smartphones. So he has a digital camcorder. He's filming the guys. And so the Indie Media guys would film them back. And of course the FBI felt very threatened by this. And Indie Media over the next couple of years kind of got destroyed. Right, because The feds don't like to be filmed, but you can always tell. You can always tell a Fed because they never wear. They sometimes wear the right shirt and they sometimes wear the right hat, but they never wear the right shoes, right? Either they are like upper, like they're like a U.S. Marshal or like agent level FBI, where they'll wear like wingtips. Doesn't really fit in. Or like the younger guys, like the masked guys, would be like Quantico trainees, and they'd always have like hiking boots, right? Quantico trainees always wear hiking boots, and every single time they stood out like sore thumbs. If you go to the thing, like there he is, there's the dude. It's like it wasn't a question if like there was be a Fed, it was like a win. There's always a Fed. Anyway, that's my thing about that. My hand's about to freeze off, so I'm going to end it right here. Cheers, boys.